Hello, my name is Vikas Pota. The reason why we're organizing this global showcase for World Education Week is we believe that schools have incredible expertise in making sure that learning outcomes improve. Given the state of the world, we want to see the expertise from this particular school being replicated in schools all over our planet so that the world becomes better for everyone. That is why I congratulate this school for what it does and hope that those listening can take away conclusions as to how they should actually approach their own improvement journeys. Thank you all for participating, and I look forward to seeing you in many of the other events this coming week. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors for supporting this incredible work, without whom we couldn't have put together this global showcase. Thank you, and I wish you well for this event.
Fast-paced social, economic, and technology-driven change is redefining our world. And having a broad range of skills, such as creativity and problem-solving, has become far more important than being able to memorize information. To redefine how our children learn, and to empower them for the future, parents, teachers, and policymakers must stop overlooking a powerful part of the solution: learning through play. Play is the rocket fuel of child development, and there is a growing body of evidence to support that play is fundamental for children's positive growth and well-being over time. It is also an essential way to foster the skills required to thrive in today's world. The LEGO Foundation aims to build a future in which learning through play empowers children to become creative, engaged, lifelong learners. To do so, we work with a range of partners around the world to change the hearts and minds of all of those who influence children's lives through our programs, research, and advocacy, so they can all embrace the transformative power of play. Examples of what we do include making sure that caregivers, practitioners, and policymakers understand the importance of play, investigating, testing, and scaling new ways to bring play-based learning into homes and schools, using play to help millions of the world's most vulnerable children cope with adverse childhood experiences and toxic stress, or conducting research with some of the world's leading research institutions. Please visit our website and follow us on social media to learn more.
Language connects us all. It's how friendships are formed, ideas are shared, and lessons are learned. Language is how we find understanding and express love. It's how we communicate our successes, both big and small. It lays the groundwork for learning and growth. And for an increasingly diverse student population, it can be the key to achievement in school and beyond. That's why Rosetta Stone Education is dedicated to language and literacy. We offer solutions designed to support teachers and their emergent bilingual students, recognizing and celebrating the knowledge, culture, and languages they bring to our classrooms. Our products are founded on the adaptive blended learning model for individual needs, continuous progress monitoring for better learning outcomes, and culturally responsive pedagogies for more inclusive classrooms. With solutions aligned with proficiency standards, we support language learning while exploring academic subject areas, paving the way to better outcomes. Because for all of us, language is everything.
Dear T4 community, We talk a lot about teachers these days, but we rarely listen to them. Therefore, I am truly excited to join the T4 World Education Week to hear from teachers and school leaders all over the world how we can impact learning together. I'm particularly looking forward to the global showcase. 100 schools sharing their expertise and best practices, I believe, will be a huge motivation for other schools around the globe. I'm equally impressed by the T4 Solutions Challenge, its finalists and their solutions to real-world issues in education. This gives me hope that we can, together, turn around education globally. The Jacobs Foundation is a proud supporter of the T4 World Education Week because we share a vision to reimagine learning and education by bringing together the brightest people who understand how children learn. Let's do this together.
Good afternoon, good evening, and a very warm welcome from Swiss Cottage School Development and Research Centre to World Education Week. We are incredibly privileged to be one of the 100 schools showcased globally for this very important week, which is bringing practitioners and teachers, educators and policymakers, pupils and parents together to think about what best practice can be for education and to stimulate our thinking as we consider what we can do to strengthen education towards our developments for our communities and our society. Swiss Cottage School is a special needs school. We are a school that is in London, England, and as a special needs school, we support the most complex population within our locality. But what's really, really important to us as a school is our relationship with our local community. All of the other mainstream primary and secondary schools so that we're able to ensure our pupils are recognized and fit into their local community. So what we do at our school is really important as a showcase of what can take place at any school. Because at the heart of our mission is a commitment that is relentless to promote an inclusive society. The pupils at our school have special educational needs and disabilities. They can come to us as young as the age of 2, and they can stay with us until the age of 19. That means we're a nursery school, a primary, and a secondary school in one. What's important for us is during that period of education, our children and young people are able to meet their fullest potential, but with the sense of who they are amongst their peers in the local community schools. We are so privileged that World Education Week has placed a special needs school at the heart of this showcase week. It shows that the inclusive society is possible, and that is through our commitment together as educators to develop those inclusive values at the youngest age. The more we commit to that, the greater we have a chance at seeing that inclusive society that moves from the tolerance of difference to the acceptance, appreciation, and celebration of the unique talents, qualities, and passions of every young person. Our showcase today is going to focus on the use of technology for inclusive pedagogies and for partnerships. In our session today, you're going to hear from teachers that are leaders across our school. You're going to hear from a parent who's going to share her experiences for her daughter. And you're also going to hear from the leader of technology. We feel it's important to show all three perspectives to support you in your journey as you consider what you can take back into your classrooms, into your education systems, and back to your integrated communities. Our sessions are going to focus on 3 key strands. We're going to think about technology that can promote the independence and communication for our children and young people, and the way that that technology works for them to let the child be the lead for their learning, help them to really feel in control of their engagement with their classroom community, and the way that the technology gives them a voice when they may have communication needs. We're also going to focus on the role of technology in empowering teachers, teaching assistants, and the number of practitioners that wrap around our classrooms and our school. We feel it's very important that we are empowering all of the educators within our school because we trust them for their expertise, but fundamentally we trust them with their commitment to our core values as a school. The technology is pivotal in giving them all of the information right at their fingertips to support their role in that reflective practice. And then finally, we're going to think about the use of technology for parents and families. The way that technology can be an important tool to make the relationship between the school and the family equal. A relationship that is anchored on an evidence-informed discussion. One that is ensuring that we're able to think about the relationship between school and home, so that it's not about the learning that takes place in the school environment, but actually about what we learn from the developments at home and can connect that together to think about the holistic picture for our children and young people. I mentioned at the beginning that Swiss Cottage School is a special needs school. We are in England. In England, there are 8.9 million pupils. Of the 8.9 million pupils, 1.37 million children and young people are identified with a special educational need and/or disability by a professional. That is a significant percentage of our population. Of that 1.37 million, approximately 270,000 are in schools like ours. We're a special needs school with specialist staff, a really specialist classroom environment, in a fit-for-purpose school building. We have integrated provision that supports the holistic needs of our children and young people. But the most important thing for us as a school and with our school culture is that collective responsibility for the wider population of children and young people that have additional needs. We want to ensure the learning we have in our school is able to cascade out into our local, regional, and national communities. And it is such a privilege to bring that learning to you through the World Education Week showcase today. Over the next hour, what you're going to hear about is our school culture, because what you're going to hear is the voice of teachers who are trusted, teachers who know what they need to do and how they want to do that. Their use of technology to support their reflections and their collaboration with a network of educators. We know that the solutions for our society sit in education. The challenges we're facing presently with the pandemic as well are going to be resolved if we're able to get those answers right in our education sector. That is where we develop our future leaders, our future global citizens, and a society that is inclusive and recognizes the potential of every single individual. That is incredibly important for us as a school community. Our focus today is very much on Edtech. Edtech has been an empowering tool for us as a school community, but very importantly, a fundamental piece of the puzzle to make sure children and young people with additional needs can really be seen for their fullest potential. We see technology as an important tool in being able to understand what their point of learning is and how to meet them for that next step. It is giving them the independence to lead on their learning through the role of our connection as teachers and educators with the family. Our event today is sponsored by Evidence for Learning, and as an EdTech company, it stands out. Evidence for Learning recognizes the role of working with schools to incubate those ideas and think about how their innovative software can develop and evolve to meet the bigger picture and priorities that schools and families have. Evidence for Learning as a company has been really active in that discussion with schools and with families to make an incredibly user-friendly software even better through their pilots and tests with both stakeholders. What we find exciting is the role of Evidence for Learning within our school culture of empowering teachers, valuing their potential and recognizing the role they play in making our school one that has a personalized curriculum, where our teachers are redesigning what the learning focus will be based off of their authentic relationships with families. Teachers are at the heart of our mission as a school because we know that the answers are going to sit with them. The technology companies that are able to link with schools have a very, very important role in working with us as educators to make those pivotal changes in society. As we consider the changes that are going to need to be made as we redesign the education system due to the pandemic, I urge everybody in this session today to really think about what you want from every piece of technology in your school setting. Then consider what the purpose is and always place families at the heart of that. That is what we have done as a school to ensure that the learning that we have within our school environment doesn't stay here, but actually is able to cascade out. We need to be outward facing as educators to support one another during this challenging circumstance. What we know is that the pandemic is not going to stop innovation. It's actually going to be a mobilizer for that. And World Education Week is a fantastic way for us to come together to be able to collaborate and think about those next steps. So we're going to begin with some words from our leader of technology, Edward Pitcher. Ed is an exceptional leader of Edtech, and what he's fantastic at doing is thinking about the needs of the pupils, discussing that with educators across our school to understand what their needs are, how to support that, and then to integrate the priorities for families. So we're going to begin with Ed Pitcher, leader of technology.
Hi, my name is Edward Pitcher and I'm the leader of technology for Swiss Cottage School. Part of my responsibility is the education technology strategy and how we implement technology within the school for all our stakeholders. Building an education technology strategy takes time. This is critically important that we look at all the opportunities for what's available to the school and how we can implement this across our pathways for each pupil who are going to be interacting with the technology. Having teachers part of this process is really important, making sure that our professional learning communities are rich and that they have the opportunities to make sure that when they're using the technology, that teachers are part of the shaping and design of the curriculum connected with education technology. Core part of the Edtech strategy is how we engage our families in the delivery of education technology across the school. Having the families engaged in the process really enhances the learning opportunities for our pupils and also brings the collaboration with our families even closer. This is a real opportunity to make sure that we're putting the right technology in not only the pupils' hands, but we're building a mechanism around the family for robust support over time.
Ed challenges us to think about what is going to be best for the children and young people. So what we want to do is now bring you into our classrooms and have you meet 3 incredible teachers who are also members of our leadership team. We're going to begin by thinking about the role of technology in promoting the independence for children and also the way that it's going to enable their communication. It's going to be pivotal in supporting them to be able to lead their journey of learning, to be at the heart of what their next step is, to be able to own what they want to do in that process of learning, not just the performance. So in our next session, we're going to be introduced to Matt Granados. Matt is an exceptional teacher at our school. He's a member of our leadership team, and Matt is going to showcase the use of Apple technology, basically iPads, with very straightforward software to be able to support the needs of pupils within his class.
Hello everyone, hope you've had a great day. My name's Matt and I'm a teacher at Swiss Cottage School. I'm going to speak to you for a little while about communication and how we use technology to extend and develop learners' communication throughout their school career. Some of the learners at the school don't have spoken language to be able to express their feelings, their opinions, or their requests. So it's really, really important that we find a way to help them to do this. So one of our key jobs really, as I'm sure a lot of you already know, is to help them find their voice. And there's many different systems and techniques we use to help with this. The idea is for us to enable all of the learners to help boost their self-esteem, their confidence, and technology provides powerful solutions for them when we utilize it well. Because if you think about us, if we had tape across our mouths, our hands tied behind our backs, and we wanted to say something, to express something, even if we wanted a glass of water, it'd be very frustrating. So sometimes, as again, I'm sure a lot of you already know, we can see challenging behaviours because our learners may just want a simple request or to share something, but they don't necessarily have the tools to be able to do it. So some of us and some of the learners at school use iPads like this one. We have other different tablets that we use as well. And this can really, really help support them with their communication. So here, if I was pre-verbal, if I didn't have spoken words, I might say, so if you can see here on the menu, you click on some of the buttons and it will go to the next screen. So here it says chat. So at the start I might say, hello. Do that again. Hello. Hello. So it's just an opportunity for me to be able to say hello to you. Then at the end of this, I might say, bye. So let me go back again. There's back buttons. And here is the main screen. You can see different menu buttons for the learners to functionally use it throughout the day. This really helps with their independence, which is the basis of pretty much everything that we're doing, their happiness, well-being, and their independence for the future. So, for instance, if they want to play, there's different toys and activities they enjoy. So say they want to listen to Head, Shoulders, Knees and Toes. Head, Shoulders, Knees and Toes. They can literally just press the button, and as soon as we can, we implement that. So it's as if I'd ask, so I might say Head, Shoulders, Knees and Toes, I want to listen to, and then possible, as quickly as the teacher or team member, we will go to the screen and put that particular song on. And the quicker we do it, it informs the learner to have a lot of confidence in the device.
We know that colleagues are with us today from a number of countries, and everybody's access to technology may vary. But what we're trying to showcase at the moment is technology that is going to be accessible for all. iPads have such a universal role in that global picture with the digital world. And so what Matt has just showcased is the use of an iPad and specialist software that allows us to ensure that the child is able to lead their journey of learning. Matt's ability and focus on being able to ensure that that is personalized is through his commitment to the relationship with the child or young person. Because he gets that communication exactly as it needs to be, he knows the needs and the wants of that child. That student is able to express what their preferences are, and that allows Matt to build the approaches within that iPad communication system. So it grows with the child. Now, we've just shown you a piece of software that our children use for communication. When we talk about that inclusive society and inclusive community, the reason we need to be connected to our mainstream schools is because we need children and young people in those settings to understand that that is how children will communicate, and that it is going to be an authentic, genuine communication from them. So let's step back into Matt's classroom to see what else he has to share.
What's brilliant with this, because it's so editable, we can extend the learning for the children. As you see this screen, there's quite a few different cells. So each time we do a piece of work or a story, we can add a different cell related to that story. For instance, there's a button here that's reading, and everything might be related to listening. So we've got story,
turn page.
And as I was saying, we can extend it as quickly or slowly as we want to for each learner and really personalise it. So for instance, the learner might just say
turn
page initially. Once they've mastered that, we move on to
want turn page,
just to constantly add vocabulary and make it more complex for them. As learners who do have spoken language, we will encourage them to use more words and more adjectives, more different words for their day to expand their world. It's exactly the same with this. It's just their buttons that are being pressed.
That one's a big bubble. More, good girl. Let me give you some more. See what you're doing really good asking.
Another thing we do, we make sure it's really accessible. There's no point having this amazing software if it's just staying in the child's bag all day. So part of this child's routine is that they take it out, they put it in their particular tray, which they go to numerous times a day. Very often they will just keep this with them throughout it. So it's, yeah, very much keeping it accessible, like with our own voices. So we wouldn't necessarily have a delay between thinking something, wanting something, and then saying it. Balloon. As I said before, if we've got different sessions that we're doing, we may well have an art session. And with other children who do have spoken language, they may request a particular colour. And if they don't have spoken language, they can't necessarily inform us. And they might get frustrated because they want red and we're trying to give them yellow. So this literally, as I keep saying, gives them that independence and that voice.
Red.
They press red. So we know that's what they want. And then, as I was saying, if we want to extend that even more, we'll say want red. And then as well, we can add opinions. So it might not be that they want the colour, but if we're asking all of the other children what their favourite colour is, they might be able to say
like red.
Okay, so all the time it's just trying to work out what the learner could be trying to say and give them opportunities, as many opportunities as possible to use this software and use these words. So when they're older and they're out and about, maybe with someone supporting them, maybe not, they will have these devices to be able to tell different people in different contexts what they want. So as soon as we can do that as early as possible, that helps them. It gives them the stepping stones towards that future independence. I passionately believe that when children are younger, the earlier that we can get to them and start preparing them for this independence, the better. Because it's all incremental. If we wait until they're in secondary school or upper school, when they're 11 or 12, and then we start thinking about independence and using money and going out to the shops for the first time, it might come as a bit of a shock. A way that I can think about it sometimes is when we start, if we're in a mainstream setting, we teach learners about letters and letter sounds and phonics. And when they're younger, we don't suddenly wait until year 5 or year 6 and then start giving them lots of words to use. So there's little stages as we go on, and I strongly believe that we need to focus on independence throughout school. It's not a priority just in upper school, it should be a priority always, I feel. Yeah, I think it's Maria Montessori says little children from the moment they are weaned are making their way toward independence, and I think that really hits the nail on the head, because we really want them to be striving for that all through their school career, and it not to come as a shock.
It's incredibly inspiring to step into Matt's classroom and to hear Matt, because he thinks so deeply about the way that learning needs to be designed, but the role of technology in ensuring the child is going to be at the heart of what their entire experience is, with the engagement of their surroundings, that learning experience, and their development. What we're very clear on is that there's a lot of specialist technology out there. So we're so careful about the choices we make about the software we use. And what's important is that we're able to use a very core system that supports our reflections as practitioners in order to make very evidence-informed considerations. So I mentioned at the beginning that our showcase today is sponsored by Evidence for Learning, and we'd like to introduce you to what Evidence for Learning is through a very short video, so that we can then enter another classroom to understand how a teacher uses that as well.
Evidence for Learning is a versatile solution for gathering evidence and recording formative and summative assessments in any learning environment. It's widely used in many countries by primary and secondary schools and colleges, special needs settings, nurseries and kindergarten. It's also used by independent educators and other childcare professionals. Use Evidence for Learning to capture evidence anywhere, in a busy classroom or outdoors, and with or without internet. Attach up to 3 videos and photos. Annotate your evidence using comment templates, and link the evidence to any curriculum or assessment framework, including your own customized frameworks, and then tag evidence to help organize and filter your observations and to help track the basket of indicators used in your setting.
Evidence for Learning is fantastic at equipping us to be able to utilize that formative assessment picture to help us consider what we're planning for our next stage of learning in the short and medium term. The website for Evidence for Learning is being shared with you now. And please, if you have any questions or reflections as the showcase continues, place them into the chat box so that we can come together at the end of the session to explore those questions together. Also, #World Education Week. And please ensure that you're able to access what we're doing through the language captions or additional captions that you may have on the software on your end. The next classroom we're going to enter is Olivia's. Olivia is an exceptional teacher in our early years provision. She also leads our early years provision. Now, if we think about children and young people coming to Swiss Cottage School as young as 2, they enter our school provision through the vision that Olivia shares around what she feels the earliest experiences of learning need to be.
Hi, my name's Olivia and I'm a teacher here at Swiss Cottage, and I also lead on the early years provision. So I think with evidence learning, I think all teachers would be in agreement that time is of the essence, and we're always kind of seeking ways in which to kind of plan, assess, teach, report on in the most kind of efficient and quickest, easiest way. And evidence learning is really that. You have all kind of evidence collated on one tiny little device, which you can put in your pocket. All children here at Swiss are working towards their long-term goals, which are taken from their educational healthcare plans. And we break these down into kind of short-term targets that we work on throughout the year. So what's also really useful about evidence for learning is children that have been in different classes with different teachers, all the evidence is kind of stored from previous years. So you can look back on children that you're working with and look back on kind of previous years when they've been with other teachers and things that they've been working on, other targets they've been working on. So you can really easily see targets that have been met, things that have worked well when working with them, things that haven't maybe worked so well, seeing kind of teaching methods from other teachers. I think one of the most useful things about evidence for learning is being able to kind of watch back on footage. you know, in a really busy classroom when things are going on all the time, you might not necessarily have time to kind of capture everything. And I think one thing that we find quite useful in class here is that we'll often, you know, set up the device, the iPad or the iPod, on a tripod sort of thing, and kind of just have footage rolling at kind of unstructured times. For example, one thing that was amazing was we, just since coming back, actually since after lockdown and after the summer, is we set up the camera to kind of in the morning around transition time and bringing the kids in from the bus. And it's a very busy classroom. All the children need kind of support getting out their chairs and into various kind of school equipment. And often we'll kind of, you know, all the staff will be busy in doing things, getting them ready for the day. And we had the camera rolling. And when I was watching back at the end of the day, this footage that we kind of left rolling for about half, I noticed that one of the little girls who previously had never shown any kind of interest in taking off her own coat, or you needed a lot of support with it. I noticed her sitting, waiting for an adult. Well, we were having her waiting for an adult to come and help her take her coat off, and she was there really trying to pull the coat off by herself. So it was really amazing to see, because no one else I saw, no adult had kind of picked up on this. So it was really nice to be like, okay, so this is going to be her target for this term. Being able to take off her own coats. And so now we're working on her taking her coat off and actually hanging it up on her own peg, so finding her own peg, and kind of all this working towards her kind of goal of being as independent as possible.
What we can feel between the comments that are shared from Matt and Olivia is that the life skills are a focus from the earliest age. When we think about that design of learning and that focus around how we're going to support the holistic development of our pupils, there is so much information that our teachers are taking into account. They are almost sort of forensically thinking about all of the information that's sitting there. And as Olivia said, time is priceless. We're really committed to ensuring the well-being of our staff. Evidence for learning has been pivotal in being able to ensure that the workload can drop so that actually the professional discussions, reflections, and considerations, collaboration across teachers and the class team can be at the heart of the focus. That allows that formative assessment to be incredibly active. And the fact that that is able to link to the home is absolutely crucial in that consideration around the bigger picture of learning for the children and young people. Let's step back into Olivia's classroom.
With learning being so personalised for each child in the class, it often relies on teaching assistants delivering a lot of the work, a lot of the learning, because whole class teaching doesn't really work with a kind of class with so many different needs. So we really rely on our teaching assistants to be able to kind of be responsible for the learning and responsible for the development of our children. So it's really nice for them to be able to be kind of part of this process. It's really nice to be able to then kind of look back at the end of the day and see what they've done. And often they'll kind of be using things that I might not have thought of, and a really nice way of engaging a child. And I think they quite like that kind of ownership and responsibility of being able to kind of do it themselves as well. I think it's really important to understand that you know, our children can't go home at the end of the day and tell their families about how their day was. They can't tell them what they've been doing, what they've been learning. So it's really nice that it can kind of put a lens into our classroom for the families so they can see their child's day and kind of, you know, get them involved, because it's really, really important that we're kind of all collaborating and working on from the same page. So it really helps the child to be able to progress. And also a big part of a child's learning here at Swiss is actually, a big part of their provision is therapy. And a lot of therapy takes place in class. And it's great that, you know, we can film sessions with therapists so that then families can see kind of therapy taking place and they can then do the same thing at home. Kind of another great example of this is I had a young boy come to us when he was very tiny, 2 years old, and we thought he was a great candidate for being able to use a communication book to support with his speech. His mum was a little bit apprehensive, obviously, you know, keen for him to get talking, and kind of didn't really see the point in a communication book. And it's hard to be able to kind of show it, you know, when you see them very briefly at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day. So it's really nice to be able to see him using the communication book in class and also in his speech and language therapy sessions. And we'll be able to share these through his evidence for learning.
The baby's very happy. The baby feels very.
I'll show you once.
The baby feels. Yeah, the baby feels happy, not good.
And actually, once she saw these and how well he was using it and how well it helped him in class, being able to kind of, you know, tell us his needs, tell us his kind of wants, his wishes, she completely got on board and started using it at home, started asking for more symbols at home. And yeah, and now he uses it so well and can talk to us lots, which is brilliant. Another thing that's really helped, I think, since COVID times is in the early years of, you know, we have new starters starting with us from the age of 3 or 4, even 2. And normally with this transition period, we'd have the families in lots into classes. We'd invite them in to kind of stay and play. We'd have them in for coffee mornings. And obviously we haven't been able to do this because of COVID. And so again, it's been really nice that we can share videos, we can share photos through Evidence for Learning to kind of reassure them that actually they're having lots of fun, they're really enjoying it, and they're going home happy, and this is why.
It's so important, the point that Olivia has just brought to all of us during this showcase. The pandemic is very much impacting on the open door culture that we as schools have with our communities of families. It's fantastic that a technology like Evidence for Learning can actually be that connectivity with the home environment. Olivia described how those new families that have started with us this year have a sense of what the school environment is, what the learning looks like, what that experience is during the day, due to that technology. It is giving their child a voice. It allows them to understand what that day at school was like, and that is incredibly important. She also described the fact that there are a number of adults in the classroom. We have a number of teaching assistants at our school. They are highly respected. They lead learning in smaller groups because we have such a spectrum of need across our school community. Our teachers are leaders of their classroom. They are leading that bigger vision about what the aims are, what the focus is, what we're trying to develop in the children and young people. They know the climate of learning that they want to create. And Evidence for Learning is a fantastic tool at ensuring that climate of learning is anchored in evidence-informed reflections. So we're going to be introduced to another exceptional teacher at Swiss Cottage School who is a member of our leadership team and challenges us to really think about the role of our school with our local community. This is Rosanna, who is the leader of our 16 to 19 provision, which means young people who are aged 16 to 19. They're our oldest students. And it's about a role that also has to do with us, with local community as well. She's going to help us think about the role of Evidence for Learning when working with teaching assistants.
Hi, my name is Rosanna Gooder. I'm the lead for 16 to 19 provision and work and vocational learning. Collecting evidence through Evidence for Learning is a huge part of our teaching assistants' role here at Swiss Cottage School. We have learning intentions for every pupil across the school, and the app links really nicely with these so that teaching assistants can collect evidence depending on the student's personal targets. This means that they are confident and can enjoy the learning process using the app to collect evidence and also increase their confidence in using the app for teaching and learning. On a Friday, we have a reflection session, so every team across the school will meet together and look at a piece of evidence, whether it's a video or some photographs of some learning throughout the week. The team will reflect on this by answering some questions: what learning was observed, what learning intentions that they're working towards, what could have gone better, how the support was given, so observing not only the student but also themselves or the staff working with the students, and how we are best supporting them for independence or skill development. And this is a really nice opportunity for staff to engage with the videos and think of next steps also. It also helps them reflect on their own practice. So at times, staff have noticed their voice in the background of videos and overheard them perhaps using too much language, and accidentally, through capturing this, that it's a training opportunity for ourselves as practitioners. Through the process of capturing evidence, uploading it and evaluating it, teaching assistants really feel valued. They're also an extension of the teaching team, and it means that they can create opportunities for setting up learning and learning activities. Through using the Evidence for Learning app as a team, I've really observed huge growth across individuals, but also as a post-16 team, and I know it's the same across the school. It's amazing to see teaching assistants wanting to show you evidence that they've collected after a session and wanting to share wow moments and things that they've captured through using the app. And it's amazing to see how they are more in tune with the specific learning intentions for each individual student, because they're always cross-referencing these through the frameworks and also through the tags. And this really encourages them to really feel part of the curriculum and understand the bigger picture of learning. And Evidence for Learning really helps us to do this, especially through observing the videos and having the time to reflect on these.
Rosanna really challenges us to think about the reality that education is not a lone process. It's not about this performance of learning. There's such a team aspect to think about how we're going to support that process of learning for the child or young person. And what Rosanna's just described to us is incredible, to think that the professional development and that reflective analysis that she has sort of showcased around the role of teaching assistants in the classroom really gives them pride, purpose, and value in that journey of learning for the children and young people, but also for themselves. They've become specialists within this culture of ensuring that evidence-informed reflection is at the heart of what we do for our design of learning, and that all adults, the teacher and the teaching assistant, are able to interact with that crucially important formative assessment. Now, as I mentioned, Evidence for Learning is pivotal in our strategy in working with families. So we're going to introduce the Evidence for Learning approach to working with families. And then we're going to have the privilege of having one of our parents join us for this session. That is a parent named Sadia. Her daughter is in our school. Her daughter has been here for a number of years, and it's incredibly important for us to ensure you can think about all that we've described so far, but through the viewpoint and lens of a parent, because we really want to ensure that mutual relationship is authentic in our approach as a school.
You can choose to enable various services to engage and involve parents according to your needs. Each child can have 2 independently controlled parent accounts. And you can easily control which evidence and which PDF reports you'd like to share. Parents can log in to their secure parent portal from any mobile device, PC or Mac to access the shared evidence and documents. Parents can also share what they are doing at home, and this can be included in your documented learning journals. Enabling parent services is a great way to share those wonderful and significant moments that parents can often miss out on, as well as modelling learning activities, showing parents how they can continue the learning and development at home.
Hello, my name is Sadia. I'm a parent of a beautiful little girl called Amaya, who has a neurogenetic disorder known as Angelman syndrome. Amaya is nonverbal, but she's extremely communicative and social and loves to interact by using some signing and photo images and using her clicker communication app on her iPad. Evidence for Learning has been an extremely empowering tool for Amaya and us as parents, as it's created a unique bridge of communication between school and home. It's given her a voice to communicate and share her day at school with her family, and it's also given us an opportunity to share news and out-of-school activities with her teacher and school team. Through the Evidence for Learning app, I've been able to follow how Amaya is engaging at school and what learning looks like and feels like for her. It's provided us with an invaluable insight into her learning and development. It's very easy to use. I have the app installed on my phone. It's user-friendly, and when I click on it, when Amaya comes home from school, we can look at any activities that have been recorded by the school team together. I just can't emphasize enough how proud and excited Amaya feels to share her day with me and her siblings. It's really an extremely empowering tool as it gives my daughter a voice.
You're baking, Maya?
Can I have more?
Can you have more
Can
what?
I have more? Brownies.
Brownies, good talking.
One of the highlights for me was seeing a video of Amaya pushing along a food trolley along the corridors of the school during magic breakfast time. I was amazed to see how well she navigated the trolley and took ownership by knocking on teachers' doors and asking if they needed new cereal boxes.
Would you like cornflakes?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
She used her clicker app through the iPad beautifully and asked very clearly each teacher whether they needed the cereal boxes. This inclusive technology has been a fantastic, easy and quick way to evidence Amaya's extracurricular activities as well as holidays and special family occasions. It really has transformed our way of sharing Amaya's news and development out of school. And again, it's given her a voice to share her news through videos and photos with her teachers and therapists. For example, we're able to upload photos and videos of Amaya at her ballet class on Saturday or during her swimming sessions, attending birthday parties or special family events. I'm able to upload this on Sunday, and then she's able to share this with her teachers and therapists and her peers in her class about her activities. During this restrictive COVID-19 period where parents cannot go into school, the Evidence for Learning technology has been particularly valuable as it has provided us with a window into children's classrooms through photo and video evidence. Obviously, in these worrying times, this inclusive technology provides reassurance of how classrooms are working in their bubbles and how parents can stay involved in their children's learning.
Following that showcase from Ed as our leader of technology, Matt, Olivia, and Rosanna as classroom teachers who are leaders in our school as well, and crucially Sadia, who has shared such important perspectives on the use of technology for that homeschool relationship, but how she highlights also what we as a school are gaining about Amaya's developments at home. We'd like to open up the end of this session, the final 5 minutes, to questions. And before we start those questions, we just want to reiterate that we find the role of technology fundamental, but it sits alongside a school culture that is emphasizing the role of that digital vision. So as you watch this showcase and interact with the Q&A segment, it's really important to think about what your school culture does to promote the role of the technology in enhancing practice provision and empowering teachers and teaching assistants alongside that relationship with families. Right, so we've got a number of questions that have come through, so let me introduce you to our panel. All of the sort of colleagues that were showcased today alongside Sadia. Thank you so much for joining us for the showcase as well. We have a number of questions that have come through, so some of them have already been answered, but we've got a really interesting one, which is, Sadia, if I can ask you this question as a parent. We know that parents are able to send in videos through Evidence for Learning. What do you find is helpful about the technology platform in sending those videos through? And if you could unmute, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, so sending in those videos, as I mentioned in my own video, is that it showcases Amaya's development and learning at home. So not only in reaching her milestones in terms of communication and her different abilities, but also it empowers her in sharing with her class members, her team, her friends at school, especially Monday morning. She's able to share what she's done at the weekend. And I think that's very empowering for Maya because she's able to communicate. She's non-verbal, so she's able to communicate her life story really and her experiences with teachers and her friends at school.
Thank you, Sadia. That's really helpful. There's also a very interesting question, which I might throw out to Rosanna, Olivia, or Matt, because it's a participant who's asking, how do you deal with parents who may not be very patient with the progress made by the pupils? So what does the technology do to support you if that arises?
Shall I go? Well, I think I kind of touched in my video as well, how, you know, sometimes it's frustrating for a parent, they can't see kind of things happening because, you know, a child might do something at school, but then they won't be able to do it at home, or they kind of see home for just learning, home for just kind of, you know, home time relaxation, where school is where they do their learning and they can't kind of do it across both. So that's, I think, where evidence for learning is really useful, because you can kind of show, you know, something that you've been working on with them, you can really show them that actually, look, we've got evidence here in video that actually your child can do this. And if we work together, I can show you the techniques that I use here at school. We can kind of show you through video here, and we can work together to kind of help support their development in that way.
Thank you. Fantastic. And then another question that has come up, which is more of a curiosity, probably around our special needs curriculum. So Rosanna, if we could share this question with you. One of the participants is interested in the adaptations we've had to make to our curriculum framework that is on the software.
Hi, so yes, we have for each individual curriculum we have here, the frameworks, the curriculum areas are uploaded individually by Ed and his team onto those devices, and so for each different pathway the students follow here, we can use the app to use the app for applying that into the curriculum areas and capturing evidence per pathway. Excellent.
Thank you. And what that shows us is that actually it's a very flexible software system and app system as well. And then Matt, there's a very general question which probably has to do with maybe our approach nationally around what our offer is for our pupils. Can you describe some of the activities that children experience in your class and their timetable?
Yeah, regards to the technology we're using, yeah?
Yeah, or you can go even wider than that.
Yeah, okay, well, we do a lot of sensory activities and sort of personalised learning with each learner. So lots of stories that we do, lots of things with lots of different senses that they can engage with and really meet their needs. And then with the technology involved, like the iPad that I showed you, we can use it as a real bespoke system so the learners can communicate everything through that. So it's, yeah, a lot of sensory activities we have.
Fantastic. And then if we can bring it back to Sadia and Ed, this is obviously the use of technology. Are there any priorities that you feel delegates need to be aware of as far as sort of opportunities to enhance sort of confidence in interacting with a software or system like Evidence for Learning? Or do you find it very user-friendly?
Well, I as a parent find it very user-friendly. I actually have it installed. The school helped me to install it on my phone, my smartphone, so especially during COVID. I could film Amaya doing all sorts of activities that the school had sent us through Evidence for Learning, whether it was sort of dancing or cooking, life skills or yoga. and then upload them and share them with a teacher at school. So that really created a bridge between home and school, especially during the isolation days, you know, while we were not done. So I find it very user-friendly, not only to see what the school is sending us and share it with my daughter, but also to upload and share with the school team.
Fantastic. And Ed, did you want to add anything about what the priorities have been on training for the staff to be able to interact with a whole school software system before we finish?
Yes, absolutely, Vijita. I'd like to kind of reflect on how we've been able to manage it across a period of time, looking at really close focus on that collaboration between staff members and with families, and that's really connected everything that we've tried to achieve with evidence for learning and the education technology. So just having that collaboration and being able to reflect with all stakeholders on the impact of technology.
Thank you very much. So a huge appreciation from us for joining us as a school community through Sadia as a parent, Ed as leader of technology, Rosanna, Olivia, and Matt as teachers and leaders across our school, to understand what we as a school use technology for in order to empower teachers, teaching assistants, and staff to really think about learning design, the way we're able to empower families and pupils, and also our role in using technology to promote a more inclusive society. We want to send a huge thank you to our sponsor, Evidence for Learning, and also to the sponsors of World Education Week, Lego, Rosetta Stone, Human Capacity Group, and the Jacobs Foundation, for placing the priorities for that population that can sometimes be marginalized and even invisible. You have very much placed the conversation around the needs of a population that really needs deep consideration in this global consideration around education at the heart of the discussion during World Education Week. Thank you very much, and especially to Vikas Pota, who has put together an incredible showcase with the T4 team. Thank you very much, and we wish everybody a fantastic and positive, reflective journey during World Education Week from Swiss Cottage School Development and Research Centre in London, England.